You're watching AmericanOutdoors.net. Hi folks, on my tailgate I've got two Champion model 7353i 2000 watt inverter generators. Now I've had these for about 3.5 years. This also has the parallel kit so that you can link these two together if you want to double up your output. I've got about 100 hours on each one of these. I've got them labeled A and B so that I can kind of rotate them in and out, keep track of the hours. Anything that comes up with one, I'll know which one it is. Anyway, these are really useful if you're a contractor and you need something for a job site, if you're doing projects around your house, if you're tailgating, you need emergency backup power, or the obvious, if you've got an RV or you like to camp. These have become really popular, the inverter style, in the last 30 years for one major reason, and that's that they're much quieter than the open frame contractor style generators that we're all used to. These are also somewhat controversial when it comes to camping because, well, if you go to any website for RVing or camping and you do a search on campgrounds and generators, you'll see that a lot of people don't like any kind of generators in campgrounds. They don't like the noise. But there's also a growing segment of society that may need a generator in a campground that has no electricity. If they have, for example, a CPAP machine, or they just require air conditioning, they wouldn't be able to camp without these. So anyway, there's a lot of videos online right now about Champion generators. I feel my experiences are valid, and my experience is going to be beneficial to somebody out there that's doing a search for generators. And the more information you can gather, the more informed decision, the better choice you can make when it comes to picking one out. There's Hondas, Yamahas, Generac, Coleman, Champion. There's a whole bunch of generators out there. So the more information you can gather, the better for you. Now, also, I'll say if you've watched any of my product review videos in the past, you'll know that I'm not the type that just sits a box down, unwraps the plastic, pulls the lid, and let's see if it starts on the first pull type of video guy. These have been used and used hard. They've got dirt, nicks. I didn't really clean these up for this video because this is just the way I wanted you to see them. And this is an honest review, and I'm not getting paid by Champion. These were bought with my own money. And that helps, I think, somebody that, you want to know that these work after your check's cashed. After the company that sold you these has already spent your money, and you're stuck with them. So anyway, I'm going to start off discussing the specs for those of you that don't know, what these things are, how they're made and what they do. And then I'll share some experiences and just kind of reflections on the good and the bad that I've had with these. So let's go. So each one of these units weighs about 49 pounds, which means to me someone with a typical frame, average strength, should be able to lift these with a minimum of effort. And these have holes in the top of each unit, and the legs match so that you can take these and stack them on top of each other. Minimizes your space, kind of makes everything all in one spot, easier to access everything. This, if I recall the dimensions, I believe this is 19 across by 13 high by 16 inches deep. This is a gas engine. It's a 4-stroke, 80 cc, runs on about 4/10 of a quart of 1030 weight oil, which was included with each unit, along with a tool kit, oil funnel, and of course your operator's manual. The fuel tanks on these are about 1 gallon. Now the manufacturer has said that you can run on econo mode, which is down here on the switch, and I'll get to that in a minute, about 9.5 hours on a tank. Now, I've used these on several RVs. I've used these on a lot of things, but just as an example, running the air conditioner and an interior of gadgets, appliances, all sorts of electronics, full load, I've been able to average between 5 and 5.5 hours, which I was pretty happy with. Now, just to give you a breakdown of the front, you've got your engine on and off switch right here. Next to that is, right now it's currently in econo mode. You can turn it on to just your standard. I tend to leave it in econo, and it will has a variable rate speed depending on what the power requirements are. You've got your output light here indicating that everything is good. You've got an overload sensor here, which if you ever have too much on this and it trips, it will go to red instead of green. You've got a low pressure sensor here, so if you do run low of oil, you forget to add oil, it will not run. Of course, you got your choke valve right here. You've got an on and off for your fuel lever, which just to stop here briefly, I like to run as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard to find regular gas without the ethanol. To me, ethanol is really hard on these small engines, but you can shut this off too when you're storing this, and that will kind of stop fuel from getting into the carburetor. Of course, you can also leave these empty, but I understand, you know, if you have a power outage, you're not going to want to be fumbling around in the dark of your garage trying to find a can of gas and then get this started. Also, if you don't use these a lot, I would recommend about every 4 to 6 weeks if you could just come out, fire it up and let it run for 10 or 15 minutes. It's good to exercise these, get the carburetors flowing with some fuel through them again, and then just shut it down. Down here you've got your pull handle. You have two 120 volt outlets on here, and I want to say they share 14 amps. Down here is a 12 volt DC outlet. Now, each one of these generators comes with charging cables, so that you can basically just plug these in to the outlet and you can charge a car battery if you want. I've done it once. Honestly, there's no trickle charge option here. There's no way for automatic shutdown. It just charges, and I think it's an 8 amp charge, possibly. My opinion was it'd be just as easy for me if I'm out somewhere to throw a cheap Walmart battery charger in here in the trunk or my truck bed and then just plug it in to the 120 volt outlet, and then I can charge my battery that way. Got a little more control over it. Also, there's a valve, there's a lever on the top of your fuel cap that vents, so you want to make sure that's on when you're using this so the carburetor will get flow. Now these are rated at 53 decibels, and everybody's got their decibel ratings. It's kind of like gas mileage with the government. 53 decibels is what these are rated, and that's on econo mode. That's at 25% load, if I understand that correctly. I believe it'll go up when you're running other loads as far as 61 or 62 decibels. What I'm going to do, I've already taken a tape measure. That rating is at about a little more than 7 yards, I think 23 feet. So what I've already done is I've marked off with my tape measure 23 feet from the corner of this unit right here to another area in my shop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this up, and I've got my microphone on my shirt, so it's going to go with me, and you'll hear me talk as I'm walking away from this and over to another area of the shop. And I realize that this isn't going to be a scientific test, but it kind of can give you an idea of what this sounds like. So I've got my fuel on. I'm going to turn the switch on. I'm going to leave it on econo. I'll pull the choke. Okay, and it started up. Shut the choke off. And now I'm going to turn and I'm going to walk about 23 feet. Now, I am standing 23 feet away from my generator, so I can't tell you what it sounds like on the audio right now. I can tell you that I'm speaking in a normal tone. I haven't raised my voice. I'm not trying to project anything. I will say, though, that the generators are in my shop, so there is a reverberation. It's bouncing off some tin walls, I'm coming back over here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn the second one, engine on. It's on econo mode. I'm going to pull the choke, and I'm going to start this one up. Now I've got two of them running, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk back over here 23 feet away, and I'll let you hear, I suppose, what I hear right now. Now I can tell you that in our camper, running the air conditioning, and having two of those outside approximately 15 to 20 feet away from the camper, I cannot hear them inside. I hear the air conditioner on low, I can hear the TV fine, there's no distractions. Now, what the neighbor may think if he's parked right next to me is kind of subjective. I don't know. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and shut the first one off. And there's generator B, and that's shut off as well. Okay, if you didn't catch that just a minute ago, I kind of screwed up. What I should have done when I came back was turn the econo setting up to the standard settings so you could hear the increase in the decibel levels as it related to how I was speaking. But I'm going to do that now. Okay, I'm going to close the choke. It's on economy right now. Kicks up to the standard setting, and I'm going to walk away 23 feet. So as I'm walking away, you can still hear me speaking, of course. I'm now 23 feet inside the shop. So I'm going to come back now as I'm coming closer to the generators, and I'm going to start the second one up. Now this will be comparable to having both running an AC unit on your RV. I'm closing the choke. You can see the green lights are on. They're both putting out. And if I was outside a camper, this is what it would sound like, what I believe it would. Of course, like I said, I'm in a building and there's a lot of reverberation in here. So we've got two generators going right now. Both of them are about 60 decibels apiece, and I'm coming back to the generators. Okay, if you didn't catch that just a minute ago, I kind of screwed up. What I should have done when I came back was turn the econo setting up to the standard settings so you could hear the increase in the decibel levels as it related to how I was speaking. But I'm going to do that now. Okay, I'm going to close the choke. It's on economy right now. Kicks up to the standard setting, and I'm going to walk away 23 feet. So as I'm walking away, you can still hear me speaking, of course. I'm now 23 feet inside the shop. So I'm going to come back now as I'm coming closer to the generators, and I'm going to start the second one up. Now this will be comparable to having both running an AC unit on your RV. I'm closing the choke. You can see the green lights are on. They're both putting out. And if I was outside a camper, this is what it would sound like, what I believe it would. Of course, like I said, I'm in a building and there's a lot of reverberation in here. So we've got two generators going right now. Both of them are about 60 decibels apiece, and I'm coming back to the generators. So how are these units for maintenance? Well, in the back, I've spun this around and I've kind of angled this up so you can see what I'm looking at. There's 4 screws for your backing plate, and I'm going to take a drill. And I'm going to remove all 4 of these screws. And once I've done that, this backing plate comes off. And you can see some of the insulation that they use to kind of keep the sound down. Here's the engine right here. You've got air cleaner, brushes, blah, blah, blah. What I was wanting to point out is here is your oil drain on the bottom. Now it is not a plug per se, but and it's got a small rubber drain assist that goes with it. So when you're changing the oil on this, you'll simply open this plug, remove it, and then you're going to tilt the generator to the side to drain your oil out. And you know, the way they've done it, it's not messy. I would always prefer a plug, especially on the bottom. I could just set this on something and drain it, but this works. Okay, it's not my design, but it works. Everything is pretty basic. There's just not a whole lot you got to do in here. Clean your air filter out, spark arresters on the other side, change out your spark plug, when that time comes. I have not done that yet with either one of these, and as you could tell, these were started cold earlier. One pull of the choke, one pull of the rope, and it's on. Now I've got the back of the cover back on, and you can see they've got their stickers on the back, basically your model number, your serial number, date of manufacture, specifications such as the maximum output, rated output, model number right here, and then of course you've got your Darwin warnings. Darwin was the fellow who thought that natural selection, well, anyway, that's for the people that can't figure out how to use common sense. So you've got everything on the back to help identify if you have to order parts. Of course, you've got a hotline number down here. So here's what I think about these Champion generators. You know, I don't really have any disappointments. I think you could probably tell that from listening to me so far. There's a nice big access panel in the back. Now, it's tight in there, and if you got big paws, you're going to get them scratched up trying to do maintenance. Well, the maintenance isn't frequent enough that your hands won't heal up between the times you go in and out. I do wish there was a drain bolt on the bottom, something to drain straight out. You know, tilting it like that to get the oil out, I think it could have been done better, but it doesn't mean that I'm not getting all the oil out, and it's certainly not been messy. So I can live with that. It's important that you have good fuel in this. With any small engine, it's important that you have good fuel. Now, I like to run regular fuel in these. I do not like to put ethanol in them at all. It's more difficult to find fuel without ethanol, but I do try to do that. I would tell you, don't leave fuel in the tanks here. But if you have a power outage, nobody wants to be fumbling around in the dark trying to find a gas can so they can fill this up so they can get it started. Well, that's where this comes in handy too. Keep your shut-off valve closed. Of course, you need to add additives or something to sustain the quality of fuel in here if it's going to be sitting for an extended period of time. But as far as the positives, well, it just does what it does. It flat out works. You know, if you've got a wedding at a remote location, if you've got like vending trucks at the county fair, if you need power, this will give it to you, and it will do the job, and it just doesn't miss a beat for me. Of course, second, which is almost as important, well, I guess it is important, maybe more important to a lot of people, is price. This was $549 per unit. On sale, it went down to $499, and I was in for some holiday sale, and I got it for $469 a piece. The parallel kit was about 60 bucks. So for less than $1,000, I've got 2 units that can put out 3,400 watts of power, and a comparable Honda or Yamaha is going to be that or more. And I've had Hondas, and I was happy. I had a EU 2000 and I had a 3000, and I liked them. I really enjoyed them. Now, I guess another positive would be the portability, the stackability, the versatility, which goes along to what I was saying before. But anyway, I will add this. If Honda comes out with it, and they all have comparable models that are somewhere around 52, 54 decibels, something like that. If Honda comes out with a Model X and it's 53 decibels at quarter load, and you sit it next to this one at quarter load, 53 decibels, almost everybody's going to say one sounds louder, one sounds quieter. The truth is, 53 decibels, I would say that they sound different. And the reason I say that is because I have listened to a Honda, and I have listened to this one side by side. They both have different exhaust notes. There's a different tone that comes out, and that can confuse some people, in my opinion, that they don't sound the same. I am very happy with this, never had any complaints. I've had people come up and ask me what kind of generators these are. You know, you pull up on a job site, you flip the gate down, and you're hooking up your power saws or your drills, and it doesn't look like your top line model, but it works just the same. Well, I hope you found this review helpful, and you're welcome to leave comments or questions on our channel. You can also find more reviews like this, as well as how-tos, DIYs, informational, historical, fun articles on our webpage, www.americanoutdoors.net. And you can also find us on Facebook. Thanks, folks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.